Alright, so I'm using a slightly different microphone, so it may sound different, I don't know. Anyway, it's been a while since I have updated. This is in the wrong place. And I'm just going to go through what I've been working on. So instead of finishing off the update, it's annoying, to the sort of new framework for HTML and HTML output stuff that I've been working on, I thought I'd take a break and work on the Commodore 64 side of things. Well, more specifically, the sort of retro computer side. The Commodore 64 is the test case for this. And hold on, I'll just load in this random thing. So beforehand, you have like the normal graphics editor. And this one's got this sort of idea of a prime color and a sub color, and you click on this and you choose like from an infinite range of colors, or 16 million or so, using a sort of standard sort of style, and that's how this sort of graphics works. Now the thing with the Commodore 64 is that it can't display true color graphics, and it can't display things in very high resolution. But I don't want to rewrite I don't want to have a completely separate drawing set of tools. But I want to be able to draw graphics for the Commodore 64 and other computers. So what I've been working on, the first step of this is trying to create this framework to be as general as possible to work with something that's basically completely and utterly different. And so I've kind of succeeded while breaking everything. So the undo and redo in this doesn't work properly anymore, and you can't change the stroke size because I've mucked everything. Well, you can now, but you couldn't before. So what have I done? What is the result of this? Everything will work in the end, but we'll have a look at this. So I've currently done two types of Commodore 64 graphic features. So in the end, so the thing, I don't want to go into too much detail if you don't know much about Commodore 64 graphics, but it has two sort of there's three sorts of components really. There's a text-based mode where you can define the characters and you can have a defined character set. I can't actually. Maybe I can. Hold on. Why does it not? I'm just trying to work out how to use my computer. X4. Doing, 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 doing. So here's Vice, and this is the Commodore 64 emulator with a CRT emulation on. So it has a text mode. It's running very slow on my computer. I really have to update my computer because the graphics card's basically not being used, which is a good thing because it means I can kind of get it optimized code when I maybe don't have to. But yeah, so everything is defined in text. You can't individually change the pixels on a screen. You have to use a character set, and then you can draw text based on that character set. So this is the built-in character set. Someone's drawn the C at some point, something like that, will define these things on a piece of paper, more than likely originally. So this doesn't look like it, but this is the character. This is an example of a character map editor, and it's a little bit like the previous version, so it's a bit different. I don't know why it doesn't fit all on the top of the screen. So you can see there's some weird issues here, like it's a bit cramped up the top, which I didn't notice before. I was supposed to remove this. I had a weird bug, but anyway, how you select these things is also going to change. Now the first thing, we might actually start with the bitmap one. So we're going to start with the bitmap tool. So we'll come back to the character set. So the other one that I have, there's basically bitmap graphics, there's character set graphics. There'll have to be a text screen designer where you actually enter the characters. But the bitmap one is where you can individually alter pixels. And the last thing is going to be a sprite editor, and the sprites are on the Commodore 64, like they're hardware sprites, so they're separate kind of graphical elements that sort of float above the screen or behind the text or bitmap screen. And I'm going to be kind of clever when I go to. So the one I haven't done is the sprite one, but I've been trying to get the basic mechanics working. And I think the character and the multi-bitmap sort of cover everything. So in this, you have a background color. The background color is fixed for the entire thing. So in this case, it's currently black. And so the way the Commodore 64 graphics works is that you have a fixed color for the background in most cases, and you are able. So in multicolored mode, this is the multicolored bitmap. There'll be a single color bitmap too. In order to get multicolor, it has to lower the resolution because it really can't handle to take too much data. So if we zoom in, these little colors are actually 2 pixels in the Commodore 64 world wide. And they're not 1 pixel, but that's because they're multicolored. So to choose a color at the moment, you pick one of and there's only 16 colors on the Commodore 64, so you don't get a lot of choice. You have to use these colors. How I select these colors will change. Like the GUI, the user interface for this is in flux. I have to decide the particular way, and it might be quite different for the different types of graphics. So a lot of the work has gone into making sure that I can cover. My watch is beeping. Covering all the different, I don't know where the watch is, so I'm not going to turn it off. It's covering all the different ways that you will have graphics in a retro system, which are very different. They always have they tend to have the characteristics. There is not an infinite number of colors you can choose. You can't freely choose colors. You may have a limited palette that you have to choose. You may have only like 16 colors, but you may have the ability on some computers to select what those colors are, or you may have on an early 8-bit computer, you may have like a very limited set of color choices, like you only have 16 colors to choose from, and then you have a limited way that you can use them. So on a Commodore 64, in each particular 8x8 cell, in the multicolor bitmap mode, you have one fixed background, and then you have I have 3 different multicolored colors. So you can choose 3 different colors in each 8x8 square plus the background. So it's a 4-color square, but one of them is sort of shared across every single. So if I choose green, I can come down here and then I can draw a green square. So later on, this square will actually change to not be 1 by 1, it will be 1 by 2 in the multicolored thing. So the nice thing is that there's a bit of flexibility. So I can quite happily draw blue. So the point is that I can use all of the normal drawing tools that were there beforehand, except I don't have the option. Everything is a filled shape at the moment. So you can draw that one, and we can change the colors. And then we can draw a Commodore 64 thing, and we can zoom in on it. And we can use the structured versions. So we can draw that one, and then we can alter it and rotate it around. And I can stamp it down just the way that I do in the other one, in the other tool, the center tool, because it's basically using exactly the same code. And you can do the, we'll change the colors. We'll go to this color. So other uses for this might be, oh, did it stop working? It stopped working. So it's not perfect yet. There's a lot of little problems, and you can add new things, and then you can make shape, and you can go through, and so you mostly have free choice of the 16 colors that you want, for example, and you can rotate it around, and it's all legit. But as I said, each individual point, so it looks a bit wonky when you zoom in and out. That's because I explained, I think a long time ago, I explained in another video that I'm using a Java library called JavaFX, and JavaFX doesn't have a very good, like, if you zoom in on something, it always sort of makes it blurry. it always smoothens it out, and that's not very good for like this kind of work. So it has this is custom written zoom code, except with the normal editor it swaps over to the built-in code. Like if I go over to here, if I zoom out, then it swaps over to the built-in FX tool. So that's just straight, and then as I zoom in, it switches over. It's a bit flickery there, and it's that point where it flicks it, where it swaps over, that there might be some. Where did that blue square come from? Oh, I think that was because that was the original buffer, and it must have momentarily showed that. So there's a few issues with swapping between the two modes, but the point is here it's always full screen when you get down to the zoom point, and here you can see a fault. It's gone and lost everything because it's not actually storing everything. You can see it's sort of resizing the buffer, and it makes it look a bit wonky, but it's actually all fine. Don't worry about it, and I'll fix that up later anyhow. So there are a few little graphical weirdness things, but they will be fixed up. So anyway, I have my shape, and as I said though, in an individual square. So if I draw here, that's fine, because all these squares have, you know, two colors plus the background. So that's one color. So I can freely choose another color, and I can put them in here, and nothing is going to be a problem. But if I try and put one more color into a particular area, like this one, it will change. You saw it change the yellow. It will find the color, the color that you're using the least, and it will replace that with the new color. So if you want to add these things in, so most of the time it won't make a difference. But if you're doing these sort of fine details, so you kind of have to understand a little bit about how the Commodore 64 graphics work. You can see here it's just rebuilding the buffer image, and then it's still got the old image, and it sort of jumps around, and it's yeah, I just have to do things in a different order, and it should be smoother. But hopefully you can see that this actually works fine, and you can even do text. So you can come out here. The starry background is just the built-in C64 rouge. Alright, and then we'll choose a different font. What have I got built in? Serif. And obviously it's not going to look very good if it's a small font size. You really have to do 50, 60. It's probably too big for the... Yeah, the text editor is one of those things I was supposed to fix. I'll make a bit better, because it doesn't actually rotate. This little thing doesn't mean anything. But the good thing is this is the exact same code as it in the other graphics editor, so I don't have to like fix the text editor in one tool and then go back and fix the text editor in another tool. They're the same things. So I can change that to, no, I don't want black, I want dark gray. It's a pretty terrible font that I chose, to be honest. Bold, italics, and so then I can sort of stamp that one down, and then I can choose white, and then I can move it slightly. Yeah, it needs some. Maybe it even actually has. It doesn't have cursor control, keyboard controls for moving things around. It does on some things. Some points, if you click on them and then you use the cursor controls, you can move it by pixel by pixel. But again, give me some money and then I will add in all the features. It's quite funny. That's not... Oh, it does match up. You can kind of see the problem here, of course, is that the way that this works is... Well, I don't know if I should give away the secret on how I got this to work. It should be an exercise for the reader to how would you program this. Didn't jump to that because like I'm still using the built-in system graphics commands. They're not actually the JavaFX graphics commands. They're the AWT original old school Java graphics commands, but the old school Java thing does not handle Commodore 64 mode graphics. So how am I pulling this off? Well, it's magic. But it does have the quirk that sometimes it's still working on the finer grain pixel. It's still working on this level of pixel. It's not working on the chunky pixel level. So you can get these kind of effects where if you move it slightly across one, it looks quite different. So then you have to kind of line it up to get it to match the shadow beneath it because they're out by 1 pixel. So anyway, that's that. And so this is going to have an additional feature which I will come back to in a minute. So there will be this, and then there will be the single color to the high res bitmap mode. And the high res bitmap mode we'll go to the character editor. So the character editor now has a whole bunch of different colors here. So it's still got it's still using the same preferences as the other one. This is all test stuff. So we'll go to here and we can draw. So this still works exactly the same, but you're like, this is like supposed to be a character editor, and this is a character editor. This is a 16 characters by 16 characters, or 128 pixels across by 128 pixels. So on a Commodore 64, a character map is only 256 characters, and they're all 8 by 8. So that's what this is. I'm not going to let you go through and individually edit a character, but you can see the characters here. They're going to have these little red outlines to show you where the character is. And there will be an additional set of character select tools. So there'll be another option for character select where you can choose particular characters. You'll be able to assign ASCII codes to them, cut and delete and move things around by character instead of. So at the moment it's very much ignoring the fact, apart from the guide, that this is a character. But you have these little quirks. So here you've got your background color, you've got your single free color. So if I go here, so I can draw single characters, not very well. So there's got to have to be a lock to the current character that you're working on option, so that you won't be able to bleed over and accidentally draw over. So what will probably happen is that there'll be a tool to select just the characters you want to edit. So you might want to edit within a 2x2 block. And the reason I'm doing it this way, so it's just to make it easy if you want to make like an image in a character map. You want to make a character-based graphic, but the character-based graphic is bigger than one single character. But you still have to add in some tools to make things a little bit easier. So if I go back to the background, you can click on here. So yeah, at the moment you have to click on the outside bit, and that chooses the color, and then you click on the palette drop down. So if you choose on this one, and then you change here, and then you start drawing a single color, then you can draw like another character over here. Like I kind of feel like there also needs to be the option to do this via a keyboard, where you have a little tiny cursor and you move around with the keys, and then you press the space bar. At the moment it's losing focus incorrectly. And again, I'll fix these things. So you would do it via, because it's not always the nicest thing to do it via the mouse, to be honest. But you can do that. But if I go over here and then I add another pixel, it will change that one to be yellow. So this is entirely just for aesthetics and user preferences. I want this character to be, though they might be able to save this information as well and use it. But a character set doesn't have colors specifically set to each character. So a character can be one of whatever color you want. But if you want to do multicolored characters, there are certain restrictions on the characters. So this mode is taking into account these things. You have multicolored 1. So if I go here, I can draw in multicolored 1. You might have seen that automatically changed down there, which, to be honest, I wasn't expecting. And then I can choose multicolored 2, which will choose red. And these are kind of like approximations of the Commodore 64 colors. So the one thing I have to do is make that freely so you can choose different approximations of the actual Commodore 64 colors. So, and I'm going to draw another one here, and then I'm going to draw another one here. And then I have a free. So the way that, and there's only, when you choose the free multicolored one, MF, there are only 8 colors to choose from, because the way that the Commodore 64 multicolored character set works. So if it's multicolored, it has to halve the resolution to get 4 colors instead of 2 colors for a character. So that's why it's chunky mode. But if you have one free color, so I can go in here and then I can choose that, and I can choose that, and I can put that there. It's gone and forgotten the previous thing. I will come back to that in a second. But if I was to change that free color, then if I go here and I change it, so it's changed all the ones that were in the free color before over to green, because there's only one free color per 8x8 pixel per character, but it hasn't changed the free color in these ones. But if I go here and then I change the free color, and the non-free colors, so these are the shared colors. So all the multicolored characters on the screen will in general have 2 shared colors between all of them and 1 free color. So this text mode editor, this character editor, sort of reflects that, even though you don't technically need to do it this way. If I go here and then I edit something, then it's going to change. I have to change this one, don't I? It's on purple. So if I go and I edit the purple, then all of the purples, as soon as I edit it, will change. At the moment, it doesn't change when you change it here. It only changes when you put down the first pixel, which probably will change at some point. And the same thing with the background. If I choose like that color, and then I press that, then all of the background changes to that color. If I want it to go back to black, I have to do that and press in the black background. Now the other thing is, so this character here is a single color. So the single color, you can choose any 16 colors, though in reality, if you wish, the reason that you do this is that on the multicolored graphics character sets on the Commodore 64, you can have high res single characters, but they're the ones that have the colors in this area here. But you can also have a just pure 16 color, a pure high res single color character set, where you can choose whatever color you want for an individual character on the keyboard. So this one lets you choose anything you want, but in reality, the free color can only be, for a multicolored thing, one of these first 8. I think. Like, I'll fix it up. But the point is, so we'll do one thing first. We'll go here and then we'll do that, and it kind of converts the high res back to here. But if we go back to here and then we push that, it has kind of remembered that what the previous thing was, so you can go back and edit them that way. So you can go between the 2 modes. If I go here, it will convert that to what it's supposed to be. I think it does. I don't remember if it does or not. Oh, I think it doesn't store it in the binary data. It doesn't convert it back to the single colored version of the multicolored binary data. I'm not going to explain what I'm talking about here. What it just does is it has two versions in the background. One is the single color version, the high res version. One is the multicolored version. And whenever you change the screen, it just does this operation on both of them. So if I do something like this, and then I go here and then I choose, and then it's going to lose it didn't lose the color detail. That's because I've been editing it in both multicolored mode and single colored mode. And so whenever you edit something and change it from one mode to the other mode, it already knows what it would have looked like if you had pressed those pixels in the other mode. The little dots here don't work because they're just randomly thrown in, and they only exist on the single colored one. So if you go to multicolored, they won't be there like that. Whereas I'm just going to assume anyone watching this understands what I just did. And if not, well, that's all right. So as you can see, so you could technically draw the normal shapes in large things. So you can have, so this is a shape that spans across a lot of characters. So you could make that shape on your character map instead of your bitmap mode. And this mode lets you edit both high res and multicolored sprites. What was I going to say? Yeah. So the one thing that I haven't done is the multicolored one. So the sprite. So the way that I've done this is you have this idea. This is the single free, and this chooses what the character ends up being. So when you do sprites are similar to characters. They can either be high res single colored sprites, or they can be multicolored 3-color sprites. But quite often they have an overlay. I can't show you a game because I don't have anything prepared. But basically, you have a high res. You have a multicolored sprite. And then you use a single colored overlay sprite which goes over the top of it and sort of creates a sort of cartoon looking outline, and these sprites look quite nice. So I'm very keen to make sure that the editor supports editing sprites like that. So on the sprite editor, when you choose the single color on a multicolored one, or it might be the overlay color, then the overlay color will go over the top of the multicolored, and you'll be able to edit that. And this all fits within this framework. So this framework says where you can define a whole bunch of different things, and they don't have to have any relevance to, they can be very flexible. I think the underlying framework, as messy as it currently is good enough to use the built-in graphics tool that I've already got. So when it has some sort of when it has vector stuff and it has layers, hopefully I should be able to translate these across into all frameworks. Into a really powerful, awesome graphics editor. But anyway, it should be flexible enough to take on any weird kind of graphics format, including things like, weirdo Apple IIe or things like that. I don't know if you've looked into how the original Apple IIe or Apple II sort of graphics works. It's got some funny quirks. So there's lots of funny quirks and lots of old retro computer stuff. But I think the quirkiest is like the Commodore 64 with overlay graphics. I also want that in the multicolored bitmap. So there'll be another button here which will be the overlay. So you'll be able to do a single color sprite overlay on top of the on top of here. So you might have some quite detailed stuff in the corner that is like looks a bit chunky, and you want it to be a bit more refined. You'll be able to do the overlay sprite to give it a bit more high res definition. This is a fun little project because there are only 8 sprites on a Commodore 64 and they're of limited size. So if you're going through and you're doing all this high res overlay, you can't do a high res overlay on the entire screen. So basically I have to work out the best use of 8 sprites to cover as many pixels as the user has requested for the overlay, and then somehow show the pixels that are outside that it hasn't got enough space for, which, this is kind of fun, right? Because you're sort of taking advantage of faster computers. This sort of idea I don't think would have been too slow to do on an older computer, but hopefully modern computers are going to be fast enough to do this. This is missing a lot of optimization. The drawing and updating and stuff like this could be faster. So there's a lot of scope. And the other thing, of course, is like, what happened? Did I kill it? I think I killed the oh, I hope I actually started. Oh no, I am still recording. Yeah, so here you have, actually I'm not going to show because it looks a bit weird on. If I go new C64 project, save current. All right, and then we'll go to my C64 project. Flag. So the next step, of course, after I've got everything fixed up and kind of working. C64 rules is to how to incorporate that into the actual rest of the C64 framework for this. But this thing here has CRT kind of emulation. So it's a bit blurry around the pixels, and there's a slight sort of hint of the lines you get, the line effect you get on CRTs. I'm not going to go, there's many videos if you don't understand how CRTs work and why this might be a thing. But generally C64 stuff looks better if you have a CRT effect, because that was how all the games and stuff were designed. They don't look so good when they're sharp and defined. They look very low res. And so because this zooming stuff is also kind of handled a bit separately, there's a lot more flexibility. There's a lot of flexibility to actually add on CRT emulation to the zoom effect. So this could be CRT emulated, and there could also, there's probably going to have to be like an animation tool or something, just running out of area on the screen, probably over here, in which to do it. So the history doesn't work. If you kind of undo it, doesn't quite work. So basically I've broken the undo and stuff, but I will try and fix it. Well, I will fix it. It's not going to be like that. But so I think that was covering everything. But yeah, so the next step is how do I incorporate it into this? So this Commodore 64 thing is just a sort of proof of concept. So the first, this sort of project probably will, will have like a sprite sheets and some and a character set, and a bitmap editor, and you'll just have to use commands like, show sprite, and or they'll be like, the name of a sprite. Well, I'm not entirely sure what the language is, but this is just a proof of concept thing. So, but the full C64 thing will be like a scene orientated. So you'll be adding a scene, which will be like a text screen or a bitmap screen, and then you'll be chucking on your sprites and working that way. But that's a little bit down the road, but you definitely will at some point, hopefully in a month or two, be able to draw up your sprites and character sets and bitmaps and use them from within the current C64 tool language thing features. So, but you'll have to probably do it by going sprite. You'll probably have to have a data type called sprite s, and then you'll have to go s equals allocate sprite, and then you can go s dot, I don't know what it will be, but it will probably be something like s dot frame equals sprites, probably be s frames, something like that, s frames, happy. And happy will be a sprite image, and that you've named it happy with the tool. So in here, when you go in, as I said, there'll be an extra tool where you can highlight squares, and then when you highlight squares, you can give them names over here or something, and you can copy and paste and move them around. The other thing that's missing is that you can't do flood fills. It doesn't work. It says it does, but that's a lie. Because the flood fill tool is specific to the underlying data structure here, so I have to basically write a new flood fill, and there are no there's no colliders. So for the Commodore 64 stuff, there won't be any colliders, so that will probably get replaced in this mode. And also, these things don't make any sense. There's no point flipping or mirroring all of the characters at once, so these options, a lot of these will move down. These options will change, and they'll be like on a character basis. So you might be able to select some characters and then go flip those characters or whatever, or rotate those characters, and that operation will apply to either a single character or all of the characters that you've selected in a square or rectangle. And some of these don't make any sense, and clear image doesn't do anything. So none of these work at the moment because I just haven't implemented them yet. the whole point of what I've been doing is just to make sure that the underlying idea and framework and like I can do everything that I want. And I think we've got there. So, but there's a lot of work to do. So if you've watched this video and you like where this is going, please consider. I need money. I don't have enough money to work on this, so I'm trying to cram it into any spare time I do, and I've got lots of things I'm trying to do and have to do. So any money will super help out, and any support and encouragement will also help out, because otherwise I just lose enthusiasm in this world of AI and other such things, where you always feel like the world is everything is going to change and no one's going to do any coding by themselves anymore. Anyway, thanks for watching, and bye.